He's just popping up as usual. So, okay. Hey guys, welcome to my channel. Thank you so much for returning. My name is Chelsea, and today I wanted to talk a little bit about how, respectively, you should set up your financial accounts. I have had a number of friends, honestly, reach out since my last video after, I suppose they learned that I worked in finance for a period of time and that, I was able to buy my home on my own and that sort of thing. So they were just curious, on how I go about saving, what that looks like, and maybe how other people can do so as well. As well as, respectively, this is totally by a case-by-case basis. Every single individual is going to be different, and I just want to say that very sincerely, for the mere fact that, say, a single individual, a business owner, somebody who has a family, and home and other things as well, they're all going to need to be set up differently based off of income, based off of, investment, time horizon, etc., etc. Every single needs are individual, and so that's why it's very, very important, to do a sit-down appointment, with your advisor at some point. Make sure that you have kind of some goals in mind that you're looking to do for your future, which will, of course, always impact your financial situation and your time horizon and everything like that. So we're going to be getting into, honestly, a number of things today. I really kind of want to try to keep it fairly minimal, just because finance can really be confusing for people, and there's no reason for it. It's fairly straightforward as soon as you understand. With that said, I kind of just want to discuss a little bit, about how you can put some funds away into an account, maybe without noticing, how you should structure accounts, in regards to, say, income versus time horizons and that sort of thing. And, a couple things that I want to talk about are, say, a tax-free savings account and an RRSP, amongst, as well as your other individual accounts, of which, of course, we'll get into as well. And I'll probably leave it there for today. There's always more you can get into. It's a huge topic, and there's a lot, to cover. So if you have any interest, please feel free to leave it down in the comments below. Ask questions, any concerns or anything like that you have, please leave it below, and I'm more than happy to get back to you and maybe make a video on the topic that is pertaining to what it is that you said. So first I wanted to get into, how should you structure them based off of what, say the government is offering in terms of these registered products. That would be the tax-free savings account and the RRSP. Well, first, you should start with, of course, like anybody, with a checkings account. You can have that realistically anywhere. Somewhere that's most accessible and easiest for you to use is, of course, going to be, make the most sense. And make sure that, of course, the fee structure is not just about on what's the cheapest, but what makes the most sense in regards to your transactions. And I say that because they can get very, very expensive in the event, that you are not in the right structure that makes the most sense for you. Right, so say all of a sudden you have the minimal account that whatever offers, and all of a sudden you're far exceeding that. Well, you're going to be paying for that physically in fees. Next, of course, would be a savings account. So a savings account does not typically pay a lot of interest rate. You may or may not have noticed. So with that said, you should always have that as realistically your next line of defense. So, with it not paying a whole lot of interest, what should you use that for? Well, you should use that for emergency saving. Again, you should always keep 3 months' income within your savings account, only because in the event of, say, a job loss, well, ideally within 3 months you'll be able to find another job and secure a little bit more savings again at that point, and then rebuild what it is that was lost within that time frame, without you going into, severe debt or there being many more problems in the event of. So that's typically why they kind of go with the best rule of thumb being 3 months. The next being, and this is totally up to the individual, and I say that because dependent on your income is really going to determine what registered account with the government is going to be best for how it should be broken up. If you are over $50,000 annually typically coming in, then it makes a whole lot of sense to go into an RRSP. What they say is that the average person or somebody who's maybe making lesser income than say $50,000 annually should be putting into a tax-free savings account for the mere fact that the government allots us an amount that you can put into the tax-free savings account. We'll get more into the tax-free savings account here in a second. But you really need to kind of contemplate whether or not, you should put 50% into a tax-free savings account, 50% into an RRSP. Is that going to be beneficial? Is it going to be 75% into a tax-free savings account? You know, etc., etc. Go back and forth. The real determiner in that is going to be what is your income and what makes the most sense for what it is that you should take off the top of your income, and not need to pay within that tax bracket, which again is going to be the benefit of the RRSP. We'll get more into that as well. I wanted to kind of give you sort of a foreshadow into maybe what it is that we'll be discussing, so hopefully it gives you a little bit of insight and, you know, makes a whole lot more sense when we're talking about it. Okay, so the tax-free savings account. What is the benefit of a tax-free savings account? Nobody seems to know what the benefit of a tax-free savings account. People know that, yes, it's a benefit that the government allots amounts for us to put into once we turn 18 years old. And within that amount, what the benefit is that the interest that you earn within the tax-free savings account is tax-free. So the interest earned on the money that you have put into this tax-free savings account is tax-free, right? So what does that mean? It means you need to earn money on the money that you have in the tax-free savings account. If your money is not currently invested within the tax-free savings account, it means you are not getting the benefit of a tax-free savings account. I feel like I tell people this so often. They have their money sitting in a tax-free savings account, but not a tax-free savings account investment account, which it should be. You should always look at your tax-free savings account as basically a shelter or an umbrella for the investment that you have within it. The reason that it should be, say, in a tax-free savings account is if you know you're going to be using those funds immediately and they need to be transferred out of an investment account, well, maybe investments are doing pretty good, and then you can put into a tax-free savings account knowing that you're going to be removing those funds anyways within, say, a few months. Oh, welcome back. The next thing after, so we have 4 tiers, and I hope that I kind of explained that. So you have your checkings, your savings, your tax-free savings account, and your RRSP. Why is that the line of defense? Because your tax-free savings account, when you take out of it, the contribution room goes right back up the following year as of January, which means you're not really losing any contribution room by doing a withdrawal from that account. Do not over contribute for what the government has allotted within that year. They do give you a little bit of movement, which is $2,000 that they'll allot you in the event of a mishap, which you can have for the remainder of the entire fund. With that said, that is per individual for a lifetime. So that's $2,000 ever. An RRSP, on the other hand, as I'm sure everybody knows, there are tax implications for when you take out of the RRSP. Why is that? Is because... Okay. So... for the RRSP. So if you take out of the RRSP early, which the intention of an RRSP is for retirement, for the mere fact that you're going to have tax implications in the event that you do take out of the RRSP early. So that, of course, right there says that needs to be your very last line of defense. The government is allowing you to put an amount into your RRSP that is also being taken off of your income that you don't need to pay an interest rate on. So they're going to charge you that interest rate early, as well as a penalty amount for you taking out of that RRSP, which is why it should be your very last line of defense. You should absolutely allot an RRSP investment to be held within it until you're retired. And when it is that somebody asks you about time horizon, they're not asking you about when you're going to start dipping into this account. It's when do you anticipate this account reaching zero? So how long is it going to take you after you've gone through your checkings account, your savings account, your tax-free savings account, and then your RRSP? How long is it going to take you to get those funds to zero? Well, more often than not, it's going to take 15 plus years, which is a long time horizon respectively, right? So what does that mean? It means that respectfully, depending on the individual, this is always going to be dependent on the individual. Their emotional standpoint on an investment, their time horizon, their objective of the fund, etc., etc., is going to be held within an investment. For an RRSP, that respectively means that it should be at a higher risk, only because when you put into an RRSP, the government does expect that you are now getting a tax break So if you invest those funds, then you are able to have a longer time horizon. Inflation shows us that our money today is not going to be worth as much as it is going to be worth later. So what does that mean? Well, you have the ability to grow your funds right now for us to hopefully meet inflation, if not exceed inflation. Your risk assessment, your time horizon, your etc. is how it is that you need to at least try to match inflation as well as beat inflation versus the interest rate that you're offered for the investment. So in respect to a tax-free savings account and an RSP, that's why it's so crucial to have both of them sitting in an investment account, is because when you have the allotment for us to not have to pay taxes on the funds that we've just earned within that account, that can be huge. Say for an example, if you were to make capital gain interest within funds earned within the account, that immediately could equate to 50%. So that's actually a huge amount. For the RRSP, it's very similar in regards to the government is giving you the opportunity to not pay taxes on funds right now, but that does not mean that you're not going to pay taxes on them later. So what does that mean? You might as well make money on the money that you are not paying taxes on and use it to build a little bit more net worth for you to be able to then claim the taxes on later. And the very last thing I want to talk about is money away for savings and, you know, what that looks like. How do I do that? And maybe how I talk to my clients as well and kind of encourage them to as well. So for a mere example, I absolutely use the idea of dollar cost averaging. When we see a market going down, it is the best opportunity for us to purchase as it's continuing to go down, for us to try to get the lowest prices possible so that when the market then turns around and goes back up, we're able to, of course, profit on that and have more ability to see the returns on what that looks like. What that looks like is being able to put regular deposits into an investment account slowly. So that would be, of course, something that's invested in any respect. That could be an ETF, that can be a mutual fund, that could be in anything. And you slowly are purchasing it while the investment is going down for you to be able to reward yourself in the future when it turns back around. As long as you wait long enough and have that long enough time horizon, it's a benefit to be able to be patient and hold your funds within that investment for it to turn back around and do well. So for an example, if you were to put an amount that you're able to work within your budget and put it in there as often as possible while it's continuously going down, that's dollar cost averaging. You're then getting the benefits of the amount going down for you to be able to reward yourself in the future by being patient within that fund. I am aware of the fact that I have a budget and I know what my bills are and what I'm able to put aside into savings and recreation, etc. And I'm then allotting it to those accounts knowing I'm not going to be touching them, right? So that means, and why is that crucial? Because if I were to dip into them very often, well, then I'm not helping myself by losing money by me pulling out of these investments all the time that I'm not properly allotting towards my budget. I, for an example, have accounts that are allotted to individual things. That could be home maintenance, that could be going on a trip, that could be going on, retirement savings, so that's how I personally allot them for myself. Would it be more beneficial to put them all into one? Well, it would grow quicker, but the rest would maybe be too small for them to equate to too much and certainly not be able to meet those other goals that I personally deem to be important. So of course, it's very important for you to meet with your financial advisor or financial planner to make sure that, your finances are allotted perfectly to yourself. And otherwise, please like, comment, share, subscribe. I would really, really appreciate you helping me grow my channel and, help support me in this little journey that I'm taking. This is my second video. I'm really trying to stretch my muscle at it and kind of get better at it, kind of find my niche, and kind of go from there. So I really, really appreciate it, and I hope you have an amazing day. Thank you so much. You take care. Bye-bye.